Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and signing in week after week. I want to say thank you. I do apologize that we're starting 1 hour behind the usual time. Usually we start at 12 noon, but I put up a change in time earlier, and for people that missed it out, I'm so sorry. But yes, we're starting now, and today's session is going to be a fun one that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. I want to thank our guest last week. Anu was fantastic. She was fabulous. She opened up, you know, she said her truth, and I really want to thank her for that because many a times we still have women, parents, caregivers still, not willing to come out there and just say it as it is, say your story, and it's very important when we tell these stories because it's these stories that help us, that inspire others, that gives that strength that you don't even know that another person is looking forward to. In sharing our stories, we provide answers to another person's problem, and so I'm glad this platform is available. I'm glad that this platform is raising awareness, is raising awareness to caregiver story, and also building a community of strength and support. And so thank you everyone that signed in. So it's 1 o'clock, and my name is Sholakbi Azazi. I started this story because I wanted to share my story and share my journey and encourage anyone out there who either just got a diagnosis or is, in the process of getting one, or who just feels alone, that, because the journey can be very lonely. Just to let you know that you're not alone. You're this journey that you're on, I'm on it too. And just giving each other strength and support. So that's the whole essence of this, giving inspiration, hopefully sharing something useful, and that's it. So today we're going to be talking with my very good friend, and one of the people that when I started this journey, she was very instrumental in helping me discover myself, a lot of things about me. And so she's going to be coming to share her story, and we'll be talking about how we know each other. Yay, look at that smile.
Hello.
Hello. See me
How are
probably
you,
out there.
darling?
I'm good.
When was the last time I actually physically saw you?
I cannot remember myself.
Ah.
I think it's like
I think it was when we went for there was an autism art event that Pure Souls did. Can you remember? There was like an art exhibition.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then
I can't remember. Maybe it's
I think that was the
possible.
last time. How have you been? This has been really inspirational. I've tried to listen to quite a few of the sessions, and it's really amazing. Well done. It's really strong work, honestly.
Thank you. And I want to say that so before I even start, I wanted to introduce you and then say how we know each other and how my journey and your journey has been phenomenal, because the reason why I started this is because I was at this point in my life when I was, I felt like you've mastered it, you've gotten everything under control, and suddenly curveballs start coming up again, and you're like thinking, I thought we had done this, and I thought I had mastered this. I thought, those kind of things. So And then I remember vividly that the words that kept on coming to me, to my mind, was gratitude. You know, gratitude. Like, you need to look back on your journey. And when you look back on your journey, you would know that you have come this far.
You're not where you want to be, but you're not where
Yes,
you used to be.
exactly. And so you might feel, and then your story is never finished until you are in the ground, basically. So you are always still going to continue your story. So even if you plateau, then you start to climb up again, there would always be challenges. But
Always.
if you are not able to slow down and smell the roses, you would always struggle. And so it was, so those words kept coming at me and just made me just pause. And I realized that for me to be truly accountable, I have to give. Because if you keep filling up and you don't give out, there'll be no room for more. And how can I give? By telling my story, by sharing strength with the next person. Because for me to be here, someone shared their story with me. Someone pulled me from the depths and made me who I am today. So I am not this place. I didn't get here by myself. I got here because of the strength of the others that pulled me along the way. That's how I got here. And I felt like I should do the same. I should pay it forward. And that's what started, because I was like, I'll pay it forward. And I think I've been doing it in silos. I go to schools, I go to communities, I talk in silos. But I felt like I have such a fantastic platform here. Why not share my voice here? Why not bring all those people that have been phenomenal in my journey to come share, and that's what started this. And also, Cradle Lounge, which is my baby, was birthed by you. Because I
I
was
was the midwife.
yes, you are the midwife. Yeah, because I'm just trying to, today it's gratitude season, and so I'm just putting into perspective, gratitude, why I'm grateful for where I am today. And I wanted you, when you said, oh, no, I don't think I said, which day this week will you be available? And you're like, oh, well, I said, whichever this week is, it's Thanksgiving week. And I feel like I should give people their roses when they can still smell it. So that's why I'm giving you your rose,
Oh,
because
thank
I,
you.
I, I feel like I need to acknowledge what you have done for me. Personally, my personal development has been instrumental because of you.
Oh,
Because I
but
remember when
to be honest, Yolaka, you
you
were already quite a long way when we met. So you were
Yeah, but
already
then
together.
you do
I
not
didn't do that
remember
much.
a lot of this, but you remember that I was half in, half out. I
Yeah,
was, not
yeah.
not that put together. I might have had some little here and there, but
You,
I wasn't that put
yeah.
together.
So in my in my autism journey, I've
Mm-hmm.
met a lot of people and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mothers and fathers um,
Mm-hmm.
who are different levels of their journey, different, and different points of acceptance. Um, and I empathize and I recognize because I was there too. And for me, it's seeing myself and understanding that, listen, everyone is on their own journey, and just any way you can support. It's not to push them to, to what you think they should be. It's just to encourage them and let them know. So let me introduce myself.
Go ahead.
um, my name is Chizoba Peters. I'm a doctor. I am not an autism doctor. Okay. I always tell people that in medical school, you know, autism, I don't even remember sitting in a lecture and actually hearing about autism apart from part of developmental, the whole topic was developmental delays, and it was just one of the things. So it's not like, I learned about autism from school, um, and my second child is on the autism spectrum. She's now 11 years old. Um, when she was much younger, when she was about 1.5, we noticed that she wouldn't respond to her name. That was the first thing. And because I already had a child, I already had a son before her, I had something to measure her growth and development against. You know, as a new mom, you might just think, oh no, it's nothing. And then I noticed she would walk on her tippy toes. And I remember distinctly one of our friends saying, oh, she's going to be a ballerina. And in my head, I was like, tippy toes, really? And I remember taking her to a pediatrician. And he convinced me that there was nothing wrong. It was all in my head. And I was like, listen, there's something wrong. This is not normal. He was like, no. And you know, with girls, autism with girls, it's a little different. She would play appropriately, you know. She would repeat, you know, movements. Everybody was like, she's fine. It's all in your head. And I was like, listen, she's not responding to her name. She doesn't maintain eye contact. She's always very in herself, even as a baby. I remember taking her to a party. And we were in the living room. There was loud music, and she was in her cot. And honestly, she was not phased. And everyone was like, oh, she's so calm. She's so... And in my head, I was like, this isn't right. So it was always something niggling in the back of my head. And I kept on, you know, like, no one does research like an autism mom. Researching. And then finally, we got a speech and language therapist to see her. And she, you know, she made an assessment and said, listen, we need to start therapy early. And she said something to me that stuck. And she was like, don't worry about labels. Don't worry about whether it's autism, is this, is that. Let's identify the problems and attack them. So I was like, okay, fine. It doesn't matter whether we say she has autism or she doesn't. Whatever it is, let's just start. And I felt like that was a good thing for me at the time because I was so hell-bent on, what is it? Give it a name. Let's know what it is, you know. And then we started therapy. But it was Dr. Grace who assessed her the first time. And then we started therapy. You know, she had her team would come and she did make some progress. But this is one thing I've noticed about the autism community in Nigeria in particular, or maybe I should say in Lagos. It's almost like they can get your child from 0 to 50, but once they're at 50, they don't know how to progress, right? If it's flashcard, no, they can do it. Your child will learn they will learn all the fruits and vegetables and animals and everything. No, flashcard, they can do that. But once you assess the child and the child has lots of, you know, I'm talking about children who have words and they get to that point, progressing them from that point to the next point is often a problem. And what ends up happening is, I don't know if there are any mothers out there who can relate, but what ends up happening is you now start spinning round and round, going round and round the same mountain, going round and round the same thing, doing the same things over and over again. And what happens is that the children don't then learn new things. They just rote learn. Yes, they just rote learn what you've learned, what you've taught them. What's your name? Boom. How old are you? Bam. How are you? Fine. So they've just learned pre-packaged responses. Aha. Super autism moms can relate. Chop knuckle. They have learned, you know, they can respond to the things that you have prompted them to 1,000,000 times over. So they can. But now, okay, get them to the next phase of actually comprehending, of actually articulating what they feel, what's in it. It's sometimes quite challenging.
It's all the time. I'm still on that. You know, I told you I had to, you know, break it all down to build it again because I was not understanding why we were plateauing like that.
So that's the problem. And then the problem with that is that, unfortunately, That plateau, if it stays too long, will now become regression. Because guess what? That child will get bored of what you guys are doing. That child will get frustrated by not being able to communicate what their needs are. That child will get completely disinterested in what's happening. And we were there for a long time. Oh my goodness. Autism moms, man, I have to be really honest. I can't I don't want to minimize the emotions that one goes through being an autism parent. I am not proud of it, but I have asked God why. I have cried. I have even said, God, okay, if this child is not really understanding me and she doesn't know me, then what was the point? Why did you bother? What was the reason? What was the reason why you gave me this child? Because I don't understand it. And then you wish autism away, you wish it all away. You just want to close your eyes and open your eyes and it's no longer there. But the truth is, the sooner you understand that this is the way it is, the sooner you accept what is in front of you, the sooner you'll be able to do what needs to be done. Because the truth of the matter is this: no one is coming to save your child. You have to save your child yourself. No one is going to do it. Speech and language therapist, OT, blah, blah, blah. They're not going, it's you. It's just the same thing with neurotypical children. I have 2 neurotypical children. My father told me when I was having kids, he said to me, 80% of how your child turns out is you. It is you. My father told me this. He said, Chief, don't get confused. Don't try and put your child in some expensive school. Don't try. 80% of how that child ends up is you. And that is so true for neurotypicals, and it is so true for neurodivergents. How they turn out is you. Studies have been done that showed children who made improvements, when they did the research, the one thing that was common to all the children that had improved was positive outlook of the caregivers. That was the one thing that was common. So if you throw your hand up in the air and you give up, you know, it's not going to help. If you stay in a corner and keep crying, why me, why me? You're not going to see the wood from the trees. You're just going to keep going around in circles. And it's okay to do it sometimes. Listen, it's okay to throw a pity party. We're only human, you know? I was talking to someone recently. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I was talking to someone about how Elijah in the Bible had destroyed prophets, did some, prophets of Baal, who was, did so many amazing things. And then the next chapter, he's like, God, I'm tired, kill me, I'm tired. Literally the next chapter, he goes into depression. And you're like,
I thought you were a superhero. I mean,
do you see what you just did in the previous chapter? Come on. We are only human. Even Jesus said, Lord, if you can take this cup away, I'll be grateful. But well, if you can't, I'll take it. So don't feel bad that you were upset about it. Don't feel bad that you cried. Don't feel bad that you stuck your head in the sand. But what you mustn't do is keep your head in the sand. What you mustn't do is keep crying. What you mustn't do is keep feeling sorry for yourself. And believe me, that is an everyday struggle. It's an everyday struggle. It's not like, oh, we're so over that. Oh, that was so last year. No, every day it's a struggle. But what I can tell people is that no matter who your child is, these children learn. They learn. The problems of today, you won't see them tomorrow. They learn. It's just about being persistent. I remember let me tell you something that happened today that I was talking to Darcy's teacher. So Dara has a younger sister, and she's 9, but she's 2 years younger than Dara. And one day she called me. She called me. She was like, "Mommy, mommy," and I was upstairs and I wasn't sure what she was calling about. And I said, "Oh, I'm coming." And I was doing something else. So by the time I got downstairs, I was like, "Oh, what did you need?" And she was like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't need you anymore." I was like, "Oh, but what did you need me for?" She was like, "Oh, I needed to do my button." I said, "So who helped you?" She said, "Dara." I said, "Crying." She was like, "Oh, it was a bit too difficult to. The top button was too difficult, so I just went to Dara and I said, Desmi, can you help me do my button?" And she said, "Okay," and she did it. And I saw that my daughter was smiling, and in her head, that was like a big sister moment that she hadn't really had, with her. And I was just like, "Thank you, Lord." I was just like, "Oh, thank you, Lord." And I wept. I was like, "Oh my God."
I
So,
can, yeah.
so honestly, it's the little things. When people say, autism is a gift, I don't know that it's a gift. The child is the gift, not the autism.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a thing that's there. It's just it's added on, and you just have to deal with it. I can't tell you that, oh, I think autism is a gift and it's fantastic. I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
But I'll be honest,
It
there
was
are
fantastic.
certain things in my life that wouldn't be the way they are
Mm-hmm.
if my daughter didn't have autism.
Mm.
If I didn't go through the experiences that I went through.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's funny. What do you think about when people say autism is a gift? What do you think about that?
And I said that if it was a gift, I wouldn't cry this much. I mean, you don't like I so I have my moments. I'm a crybaby. Yeah, but what I always what yes. I mean people say, oh, her face is so scrunched up and all of that. I'm like, when you would have told me I cry a lot. But what I'm saying is that I feel like, and that was how I started it. I said, you think you have gotten it all, and then one minute you are somewhere fantastic and you've scaled this, you've scaled that, and then the next minute you hear that there's some behavior and you think maybe okay, it's okay, and then it's escalating so fast and you're like, sorry, what's going on? My son is punching who? And you're like, you're still trying to think about it and still wrap your head around it, and then you're like, oh, incident 1, incident 2, incident 3, 1 week. I'm like, sorry, wait, slow down. My son is a lover, not a fighter. And then you're still trying to, and then you're like, it's being sent to a space to decompress, and you're like, head by me. 2 weeks.
Where did this one come from again?
You know, and next
But you
thing,
see, but
what
that's another thing. That's another
oh my
thing.
God, going
I
on?
think. I think another thing that we autism parents forget in our minds is that it's almost like we lock our children in our minds in the age of their diagnosis. We forget that they are growing. They are growing and they are maturing in themselves. They're maturing in themselves. They're becoming new, just like neurotypical children. So
Mm-hmm.
the way things affected them when they were younger, it's not the same way it affects them when they're older. Do you see what I mean? So they process things differently. So the fact that
What I now found out was that he's becoming very, before he was a whimsical child that if you punch him, he just goes his own way. Now he's becoming more aware
yeah. So
of
now
his.
as they get older,
He's now becoming like you look at him funny, and then he's looking at you and wondering, and then in his mind he's like, what, I'll punch you out, that kind of thing. So he's processing things, he's becoming very aware of the fact that he's different. Because I had to step back to start to, take data and start to, like, okay, dissociate yourself from all of this. And, I've done the crying. Now let's do the work, you know. what's going on, what's pushing on. And then I realized that, he's becoming aware of the fact that he's different. And then how do I explain to a child that even if you think you're different, I love you like that? Like, oh my goodness, no.
Oh, if it's about love and autism, that one I can tell you beyond any doubt that they know the people who love them. Children are very intelligent, whether they're neurodivergent or they're neurotypical, and they
Mm-hmm.
know that is for it, from the children who have speech to the children who don't have speech. The one thing I know they can identify is love, because
Yeah.
you can tell when they are in the presence of those who they know love them. It's completely different. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely different. So for me, it's that's one of the reasons why it's so easy for moms, because, well, I say easy, not the whole process, but it's easy for moms to express their love to their children. And so, like, they know that this woman loves me for who I am. That I don't think you should doubt that. It, they know exactly how you feel about them, and that's why they're so free, with us. But as my daughter is getting older, like she's 11 now, I can see I have to remind myself all the time not to lock her at the age she was at doing her diagnosis in my mind, because she is definitely getting older. She's becoming more aware. She
Mm.
wants, for some time, she was on a gluten-free, lactose-free diet because she had tummy issues. And she would comply. She wouldn't, but as she got older, she'd be like, no, she'd actually say, no, I want that. Like, she wants what everybody else is eating. Like, why should my plate look different? And I want that, And after a while, you now have to, try and make everything look the same, even if it's different. Because before it was easy for you to give her whatever, and she just shovel it down. But after a while, she's like, no, no, no. She'll rebel a bit, because she's a preteen now. Whether she has autism or not, I'm a preteen. I have to show you that I'm getting older.
Mm.
There were days when back in the day I'll bring out what she should wear and she'd wear it happily. Now she's like, no, I don't want that. I want leggings, you know. And I have to, just calm myself down. Please, she's getting older. Let her wear what she wants to wear. It's true now. So I think we sometimes forget. I don't know if I'm the only one,
No, you're
but
not.
sometimes we forget that these children are children first. We just think of them as children with autism. We forget that it's children first. The autism just came after, you know. So just like neurotypical children, they're growing. They're growing. Mrs. Mokolo, she said, say it louder.
Yeah.
With, and in fact, it's interesting that Mrs. Mokolo made a comment just now, because she was actually very instrumental in just before we left the country, in our growth and development, because after a while I pulled Darcy out of school and I
Mm.
just put her in Shades of Life, and she was just doing ABA.
Mm.
And I know that people have their different opinions about ABA and what it can achieve and what it can't achieve. But for us, we found real gains with ABA, especially at that plateau that I was talking about. That point where all the Nigerian therapists have finished showing them a million flashcards and have finished telling them how to answer preset questions, to try and get them to now begin to understand. There was so much that ABA did. Do you know that for the longest time, I don't remember how old she was. I might be mixing up. Maybe she was like 8 or 9. Maybe she was 8 or so, or 9. She would, if you said she was, her echolalia was still really, really prominent. She would just repeat a lot about what, and even if she had the answer, she would still need to repeat what you said before she thinks and gives the response. So I remember that it was when we started ABA that she would actually stop to think before she gives a response. You know, it actually taught her how to stop and process what was being said to her. Like something, even something as simple as good night. If he said good night, Dara, she would say good night, Dara. That she would, if she stopped and looked at her, she'd say good night, mommy. It was only said at ABA that she now understood. No, no, no. I'm not supposed to just say what you're saying, because when you're feeding them words, when you're prompting, they take all everything you're saying as a prompt. They don't realize that they're supposed to think and respond. At least she
Yeah.
didn't. So it really took time for her to learn that. Okay, remove the prompt. Remove the prompt. Let her just leave the silence. Let her think and then say. It was amazing to see that change. And obviously, like I said, we're not where we want to be, but Lord knows we're not where we used to be. Lord knows. Someone's asking about diet. Diet is an issue, right? Do they have to go gluten? To be honest, I don't think anyone has to do anything. Um, I don't think anyone has to go on a gluten-free and a lactose-free
Yeah.
diet. No. The
Put
reason we
yourself
did
out.
it the reason I did a gluten-free, lactose-free diet for Dawa, because she really had a lot of tummy issues. She was constantly constipated, constantly bloated, and that obviously affected her mood, affected her how calm she was. So we put her on the gluten-free, lactose-free diet, and we were very, very strict at first, and then we started easing off. So in all honesty, I don't think it gives the neurological gains that people claim it does, but I know that it definitely helped her tummy. And the only reason why we persisted was because she had that constipation and bloating, and like her tummy, she looked like a kwashiorkor patient. Like her tummy would be really big. She was so bloated and so uncomfortable before we started it. So that's one of the reasons why we went on that.
I wanted to add real quickly that before you talk diet, it's also very important, there's neurological factor and there's, physiological factor. She's a doctor, she would tell you. First go and meet your doctor first.
Yes. So, oh, sorry, I should mention that I'm a doctor of Fun Fairy 21.
Eh?
Yeah, I will just say that please, it would be wrong for us to come out here and say, oh yeah, once you have a diagnosis, just go gluten free, lactose free, blah, blah. Not really. No,
Because this is just to share, your personal experience with your child.
exactly.
And every child is different. And so it's
Yeah.
very important because we didn't do gluten-free, lactose-free diet because my son had lots of allergies. We initially noticed he was allergic to eggs at 6 months. When they say first food and everything, he had
Mm-hmm.
eggs like at that time, and he spiked a very high fever and
Wow.
covered in red blushes, like
Oh yeah, I
every.
remember you told me.
Yeah, I told you, and I was freaking out. We had to rush him to the hospital, and they had to, quickly attend to him. And right after that, we tried it again, and we realized that, and so that prompted us to do a proper allergy test. And it was from the allergy test that we realized that he was allergic to a whole bunch of things, which then now guided what he could eat and what he
And
couldn't
what he
eat.
couldn't. Yeah.
Doctor already told us then that he has very limited food that he can accept, and he needs all the nutrients he can get because he's growing. So if you
So if
now
you now
take
start taking things out,
things out just because you feel, and there's no 100% assurance for you that if I take it out, this is the reason, this is what I will gain. But you're taking it out based on everyone says this diet is what I should go on. He said you might be setting yourself up for a bigger health issue, was the
yeah.
doctor's advice to me.
I
And
think
I
that's another. I
did
like.
that.
I like that the fact that you talked about doing what everybody else is doing. There's a lot of desperation that comes with getting an autism diagnosis. You and I have to, accept that as a fact. People, if someone told you to, run around in circles and jump up and down 50 times and your child will be autistic again, you will do it, if you didn't know any better. So, but the problem is that many people now just, based on what somebody else did, let me do exactly this and maybe I'll get some gains. And the truth of the matter is, just like you said, if you've seen one child with autism, you've seen one child with autism. You've not seen autism. All children with autism are different. And everybody has their own different complex needs that come with autism. And specifically, whenever people ask me about that, I always tell them I only did it because of my daughter's GI issues, because of the constipation. She would only at one point she would only poo in her sleep when she was like a toddler, because she was always so constipated. She'd be scared to go to the loo. That's how bad it was. And I was like, listen, I can't be medicating her for constipation all the time. That's not safe. There has to be a way. So after doing some research, I said, okay, let me try this and see what it does to her diet. She's not still regular like, but she's much better than what she was like before. And even now, we're not strict on the diet. Like, she would eat some things and then would watch and see, oh, how does she do? It's a lot of observation. You check, oh, how did she do this week? Were there any changes? And you see, you know, but definitely I wouldn't say, oh, one size fits all. Not true. Not true. And anyone who suggests that is not really looking at the facts of the matter. Yeah. But it can be tempting to think, oh, we all just do this and everything is okay. But obviously that doesn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Same thing
yes.
with supplements. I see some people that are like, oh, you have to do the supplements, give this one, this one, this one, this one. Your child may not be deficient in those supplements. You're just, making their pee smell. They're not really gaining anything from it. So it really all depends on what does your own child need. And yeah.
Also, your child is not deficient in those supplements and you
You
keep
not give too much.
You run a risk of putting your child in another trouble altogether. So it's very important, just as diet and supplements, check with your doctor. Check first with your child's doctor, do a panel test and know what the child is deficient in. Ask a doctor to interpret the test. Very important. I mean, she's a doctor and she knows she's not a nutritionist doctor. She knows not a pediatrician. She knows the kind of doctor she is. So she will still go and meet and, confer with another doctor in the right department before she even takes different steps. But then she has a, DR in front of her name. She could just tell you that.
That one is not autism DR. It's not autism supplement DR.
I'm just trying to emphasize on the point that
exactly. I agree.
In all decisions that you take regarding your child's health, do not take away the role of a medical practitioner in this role, and always make sure that you are referring to the right medical practitioner. You cannot go and meet the doctor for a brain doctor to treat a tummy, is wrong. You need the right practitioner. It's very important before you make decisions. So just sounding a warning out there. I'm not against supplements or diet. I'm just saying, make sure that whatever intervention you're taking for your child is tailored to your child's need.
To your child's
need, not even just your child, to your child's needs. So if your child does not have a need in that area, do not intervene in that area. Focus on other areas that your child needs the intervention. I'm sure you will find 1,000,001 if you check properly. Just saying.
Yeah, and definitely, and obviously try not to be swayed by the trends, because just like anything else, this autism, trends come out. Now all you need to do is give your child olive oil and something, they'll be fine. Now all you need to do is that. There's no, we're talking about development of a child. It's never just one thing, even for neurodivergence, even for neurotypical children. It's never just one thing, so don't get locked in the trap, because I know it's easy. I'm a doctor, and the easiest thing for me to do is take this pill, Abby, just one tablet a day, everything will be okay. Okay, fine. It's easy because we want to just think about it logically. This equals to this equals to that, but it doesn't really work. So try not to get sucked into the new fad, the new popular autism treatment thing that'll make everything go away. Try not to, because it's never really that. Like I said, if you're not persistent, if you're not doing, these things consistently, there's nothing is coming to save you. It's not just just this equal to normal autism. No. So try not to get into that trap, into that headspace that, oh, this is the new thing. We just do this, and no. And even those people that, come up and say, oh, we did this and our child is fine, they never just did that one thing. Like, if I said to you, oh, I put my daughter on a gluten-free and lactose-free diet and now she's improved, I'm not telling you the truth, because that's not all we did, and we didn't even do that for that reason. Do you see what I mean? So be careful. Just be really careful, because if you don't see the full story. There's always therapy happening. There's always speech and language happening. There's OT happening. The diet is just one of the things. The supplements are just one of the things. And that must have been for that particular child because they found that they had a folate deficiency or, whatever it is. So try not to get, deceived by snake oil salesmen that tell you just take this one thing and everything will go away. No. And there's always a new fad. There's always a new, story that this is the one that will fix everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take us away from all of this, and then I'm going to go. I know that you just recently moved to the UK. So
yes.
Experience. Tell me Darasimi's and your experience as a parent, and
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is full disclosure. No matter what I say, I need to explain explicitly that I didn't move to the UK because of Dara.
Of course.
Because people might say, that means that there's no treatment in Nigeria. Hey, I didn't. I didn't move to the UK because of Dara. In fact, it was just not even a consideration. It was just, and hopefully would get more care as well for her while we're here. So that's the first thing I want to say straight out the gate. There are lots of people who are doing amazing things with children on the autism spectrum in Nigeria. Like I said, Shades of Life were amazing. Patrick Speech Center have been amazing. There are lots of resources out there. And like I said at the very beginning, unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of it lies on you, mommy and daddy. A lot of it lies on you. No, that's not why I moved. So when we first moved here, when the kids, because I came first and the kids came later, it was initially challenging because, in Nigeria, if you save and you count more money, you decide what school you want to put your child in, put your child there and walk away, But not quite the same here, because when I first got here, you have to do a lot of research to determine, okay, what do we want to do? What system do we want to put her in? Do we want to put her in a private system, or do we want to put her in the state system and see what support she gets? But I have to be honest with you. I cannot say any of this was, my intelligence or my doing. It was really all God, because I prayed about it before we left, and I was like, God, please, this move has to be beneficial for everyone. It's not about one person doing okay and the other person not thriving. And so I got advice from some of the mothers I saw here, and she was like, listen, go through the state system because you will get support. Because once you go private, then the state will be like, oh, you're fine. So go through the state system and you'll get support and you'll see what's out there. And I said, okay, fine. So what we normally, you put your child in the state school, but obviously I had to go to the school and say, these are my child's needs. These are the things that she's able to do. These are the things that she can't do. These are the things that, and obviously they realized that she would need a lot of one-to-one support. So before we could even put her in school, the school had to set up a system that would work for her based on what we had told them about her, which was very good. But obviously they're less focused on maths and English very plenty. They're more focused on life skills and, social and for me, that was really important for Dara. So right now, so what each school has a special education needs coordinator, and ours was amazing. She was really, really very helpful, very, thoughtful, very intuitive, and tried to support us as best she could. And what they ended up doing was getting her one-on-one support at school, and then after school, they provided a tutor to teach her. So what that just meant was that we at home, all we had to do was just continue with the social things that we were doing with her and supporting as we were doing in Nigeria. But it's still a long journey. We've only been here, they've only been here, I think, 6 months. And so we still have a lot of plans. Part of what I was doing today was sorting out her educational healthcare plan and figuring out the next steps and the things that she'll need, because obviously as she's getting older she would need more support and things like that along the way. But so far, I mean, it's been lovely. It's been a journey, to be honest, but it's been lovely because it's amazing how much support you have, out there, and how understanding people are and how keen people are to help when they know what your needs are. I think that's one thing I've definitely learned from here. That, if you can identify, okay, these are the things that we need, these are the things that we can do, these are the things we can't do. Everyone wants to support because, everyone wants to help because they understand it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a neurotypical child.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine for a neurodivergent, it takes 10 villages. Yeah, so that's been the experience. When we first moved here, she she didn't, strangely enough, she wasn't upset about the change. She didn't get anxious about the new environment and all. I guess because obviously her family was
I was
with
going to
her. There was
it's a family. I mean, she could see that the family unit.
exactly.
That's very, very important when you're
Yeah.
you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were in Nigeria, whenever I was about to do something new or change something in her routine, I always used to say to her, Darcy, it's okay. We can do things differently. And I noticed that when we moved here, if something changed, she'd just say to herself, it's okay. We can do things differently. I'll just hear her muttering it to herself. It's okay. We can do things differently. Then she'll smile. So yeah, so that has definitely helped. And the support we've had here have been very patient with her, very, very understanding, and very, yeah. So it's been helpful. Obviously there's still a lot of things but what I've noticed is another, like I said, really identifying your child's need is actually really important. Identifying your child, not just saying, oh, she has autism or he has autism. Okay, what are the things that your child needs to be able to do at this time that they can't do? So you can break it down. And get and have a plan for her to, or him or her, to learn that thing, to learn that thing. Because I think sometimes, even like a lot of times, that I found it difficult to actually break that down, to say, what does she need to learn now? What are the things that she needs to learn now? What are her needs now? You know? What would be my advice to moms who are looking to move abroad for this reason? Honestly, Basirat, I think you need to do a lot of research. I don't know where abroad you mean, but I think wherever it is you want to go, I would suggest that you do a lot of research. I'll suggest that you find parents who have children with special needs and ask them their experiences there. I would suggest that you think about a support system before you move, because what you don't want, what you absolutely don't want, is anything that'll affect your mental health. You don't want to
Absolutely.
go to a place.
Louder, louder.
You don't do anything that'll affect your mental health, please, because this journey is hard enough. with all the support that you have, I assume you're in Nigeria. Obviously, there's a lot more support system in Nigeria than anywhere else. So really think about it. Make sure you do your research. Find out what's going on. What are the provisions available for children with special needs and wherever you're going? Speak to moms who live there. Think about your support systems. I think I see a lot of people say, oh, they're moving. And then when they get to wherever they're going to, they realize that it's not quite what they thought it would be. So my advice to everyone would be really do your research, make a plan, go from best case scenario to absolute worst case scenario, and then everything in between, and then decide if this will work. Because honestly, the grass is green where you water it. It's not always green on the other side. And that's why I keep telling people that I didn't move here because of that. That wasn't my reason, Wherever you are, if, there are systems that can support. Obviously, there are places where there are better systems than others. But, I wouldn't say to someone, oh, yeah, you have a child with autism, oh, move to the UK. No, I definitely wouldn't say that to anyone. I definitely wouldn't.
I would like to add also that whatever move you're making you should consider the whole family, not just one.
Oh, yeah.
Your move should not be engineered because of one person's need, because guess what? Everyone will suffer. And you wouldn't even enjoy the move. It would, because it would.
That was the first thing I told you, that the reason when I was moving, the prayer I prayed was, Lord, let this move be, beneficial to everyone.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't just be, oh, one person is thriving, the other people are not. No. But I really have to stress it. Basira, think about your mental health. Think about the support systems you'll have, because that's something that we sort of ignore. We downplay it. It's it's a thing. Make sure you have enough support systems wherever it is you're going. Yeah, definitely. So what's new now? When are we reading your book? You're supposed to be writing your book.
Yes, I am.
Yes, now when are we going to read it? When are we going to come for the book launch? I said I have one or two chapters to add to the book.
Okay, yes. So Etiafa wanted to know how we know each other. Mrs. Wokolo said, how do we know each other? She didn't know that we know each other. In fact, since when self? It's like 5 years ago or what? Yeah. So I remember that we met at the autism conference, right? And I think the question was, I'd asked the question like, okay, fine, this is happening and all of that. How do I educate the younger ones, the siblings, the little ones around, or the older ones around, that educate them about what autism is all about? But I also wanted it to be culturally significant. I wanted because I'm someone that I believe that I don't downplay my culture, or yes, it's fantastic to do what the Oyimbos are doing, but what is acceptable here? I want to hear our voices. I want to hear, and then Miss Akonde had linked us together and said, okay, I'm handing you over to Chizoba. Chizoba, she's in your care now and everything. And from that on, being like, I have an issue with, I remember she had shared resources and materials with me on how to talk about autism with, little children. And I remember that
the book.
Yes. I was the one that gathered everybody and said, we're having a movie date. All was flowing. Everybody was like, woo-hoo, they were high on sugar. In the Nigerian version of what autism is, Chuchu and Chibu. Everybody just went quiet because I'd said movie date. So they had done swimming, they had fun, everything was going, food, everything was flowing, and then next thing, I just said, oh yeah, everybody sit down, blankets, all of that. And then, boom, Chibu and Chuchu and Chibu Adventures on Autism, and everybody just went, What's going on? And then I remember saying, and then I allowed the first episode to play off. And then I now waited. And I was like, questions? You would not believe it. So, wait, is this what Priye has? Yes. Oh, is that why? And then it opened them up to a lot of questions. And then it was mind blowing, and it started off my journey into advocacy, talking to children about what autism is about. You know, most times you'll find me with children, basically, because I'm trying to make them understand the difference, and then accepting the difference, that it's not, you know, that's it. Just journey in that way. I felt like if you could just explain it to them in the way that they can understand, it makes a whole lot of difference. I mean, in my son's class, you know, remember when it was moving classes, and then I said to you, we are going to go to school.
Let's go and talk to them.
I'm in school because he had stayed there for the first year, and I wasn't so sure. So I went with my team of people, speech therapy. I asked the school, they said, oh, would it cost us? I said, no.
No, it's free. Don't worry. Just sit down and listen.
Therapists and everybody, the professionals that are coming to talk, you just give me 2 hours with your teachers. I want to just, you know, have this a map. I said, don't worry, just 2 hours. I will make it as practical as possible. And it was mind blowing. The teachers,
I know the teachers were so impressed.
They were like, oh,
I remember at the end, they were walking up to us and asking more questions. I was like, oh, this is good.
Asking more questions. Like, okay, so if I needed to do this with this child, how to, you know, because I brought in different people to come and break it down. How you can make.
Dr. Grace came now for one of them.
Came.
Yeah.
Make classroom adjustment accommodation for children in your classroom. You already have them. Because they were shocked, because I was like, yes, this child that is doing this. I made sure that I didn't even talk. I was not even in the midst of the people talking. It was, so don't see me as I am another parent coming to tell you or lord it over you as to this
about my own child.
Yes, I have my child, but you need to listen to the outsiders come to talk to you about what. And it was a fantastic. In fact, they even wanted a repeat, and then I can't remember what happened, and there was never a repeat of the session. But it was, you know, and then that was the journey, and here I am talking on.
I think like what you said about teaching children is so important, because like their little minds can't understand what you mean. This child, you know, looks like me. You know, it's easy to say, oh, a child who's an amputee is disabled because they can see the child doesn't have a hand, or the child who is in a wheelchair. But when they see children with autism, they're like, but this child is looking at me. This child looks like me. This child is walking. This child, why is this child not doing what we want him to do? Or why is this child not playing the way we want him to play? And it just having them understand. And sometimes I tell my children, I used to tell them, you didn't do anything to not be on the autism spectrum. There wasn't anything you did. It wasn't that, oh, you know, you were so clever that you're not on the autism spectrum. You know, it just happened that you weren't. So you need to be empathetic and put yourself in your sister's shoes and say, you know what? How would I feel if I couldn't speak for myself, if I couldn't advocate for myself? How would I feel if no one understood how I felt about the situation and everyone was just talking at me? You know, I remember when my son was really, really little, he told me, and I remember that was one of the answer to the question you asked at the autism week. My son, he said to me, he said, oh, Mommy, I think Darasimi hates me. I said, how can she possibly hate you? And he said, because she doesn't play with me. And it's just so childlike. Children think the person who plays with me loves me, and the person who doesn't play with me doesn't love me. And, you know, that was when I started explaining to him and showing him the listen. It's not that. She wants to play with you. She really does, with all her heart. She wants to play with you. She just doesn't know how, you know? So I think and when people ask me, what can parents who have only neurotypical children do to help, you know, whenever I do the Zumba-thons and stuff, and people ask me about that, I always tell them the same thing. teach your children. Because it's your children that our children are going to encounter in the world. Teach them so that there'll be more kindness.
Absolutely.
Teach your children. Teach them that, listen, just because this child is not able to do what everybody else is doing doesn't mean they're not intelligent, doesn't mean that they don't deserve love, doesn't mean that they can't learn. Teach them to be kind, because that's all this world needs. If all children are kinder, it'll be easier and they'll be more patient. You know, what made me cry about my daughter's story, when she, when her younger sister asked her to help, was the fact that her younger sister understood that she can do it. So I'm going to ask her, she understands, because sometimes we assume incompetence. Meanwhile, we should assume competence, assume that they will understand, speak to them like they will respond. And she just walked up to her and said, can you help me with my button, Dara? Like, she could have said, no, I'm going to wait until mommy comes. But she just walked up to her and said, Dara, can you help me with my button? And she was like, okay. And she did it. And that for her was like, even for my youngest, it was like vindication that, you see, I did, I engaged, and it's amazing to think. You want a snack? Okay, I'm coming down, darling. So it's lovely to see that, and I think the right idea is to teach children.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. Yes, before I left Nigeria, and, long before I left, we used to teach teachers because they would encounter children in the classrooms and not know what to do. And that was part of what we would raise money using the Zumbathons and then teach teachers and all of that. But also teaching children is so important. So,
Very, very, very,
mm-hmm.
very, very important. And that's the reason why I actually started a place where I say it's supposed to be inclusive. I want to
Yeah.
have children with disability and children without, because when they are both in each other's space, then they see the difference, and then you are now, there's a structured play in place to engineer and to encourage that interaction between.
And then the symbiosis, they learn from each other.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So it's been fantastic.
Oh,
Ron,
virtual hug, virtual hug.
yes, and I have to go and do pick up. I have to.
Oh my goodness! But we should definitely do this again. Hopefully.
Okay, you know what? Because I'd also told I know that we're going to come back, so we would come back with you also, and we'll come back with Arno, because Arno also had like a ton of things
Oh,
to.
good.
So I'm loving this connection. I'm loving this way that we are putting stories out there and educating parents and just caregivers and just giving that support, because we get to share questions that is heavy on people's mind, but they don't know where to turn to. They get to hear. They are hearing from us. We are parents. We're not sharing profession. I'm not talking about the profession.
We're not collecting money. We're not
Free of
free FOC.
just
FOC.
I just share a story basically, because I believe that until we start saying our own kind of story too, because a lot of time you hear other people's, the Western world, you hear their stories, but I don't feel like we're telling enough of our stories. So this is us giving enough of our story, putting our own content out there. I keep saying I want culturally relevant story. This is me trying to make our stories culturally relevant, saying it as it is. I am in Nigeria. I am living in Nigeria. These are my experience. I'm a Black African Nigerian living in Nigeria, and this is how I am experiencing autism. This is how I am dealing with the daily, parenting, up and about the thing that, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Well done. I'm so proud of you, honestly. I'm not joking. I am so proud of you. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, darling.
Bye-bye.
We'll chat again soon. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Everybody,
Bye.
I need messages, but I'm sorry. I will try and read it all up, and then I have to run
Respond.
to go. Yes. So bye-bye, everyone. Bye.